Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is Monday review time as I sit down to reflect on the weekend defeat to Ian Everett's Bolton Wanderers. The Trotters coming to Kent and leaving with all 3 points courtesy of a 3-0 win. Goals from Aaron Morley, Declan John and John Bodavarsson. Gills for me, and I might get shot down for this, by no means were really, really poor. I think sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and say that you're coming up against a side that on the day were at the top of their game and were a lot better than us, have got better players than us, more resources than us, and better options. We weren't at our best, no, but Bolton clearly were. And to be fair, we probably did well to come out of it with just a 3-0 defeat. Team news that broke at around 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon saw Neil Harris make one change from last weekend's win at Sincil Bank against Lincoln City. Mustafa Carriol, who's missed the last few with an ankle problem, he was back in the 11 at the expense of Ollie Lee, who dropped to the bench. Otherwise, it was unchanged from that win in the North last week. We started all right. I thought we were bright. We were trying to get in their faces. Territory-wise, we were playing in the right areas of the pitch. We was getting into their final third. We didn't create loads of clear-cut chances. I get that. With a lot of corners, a lot of throw-ins, a couple of snapshots from Stuart O'Keefe, edge of the box. You probably want them to fall to someone like a Ben Thompson or of a Dane Oliver. Unfortunately, Stuart O'Keefe's not renowned for his goal scoring. But yeah, it was a bright enough start. But we knew that Bolton would come into the game, and once they settled into their rhythm, they kept the ball really well. Myself and Boz were talking throughout that first period and said that it was so hard to pick them up. At times, their wing-backs were the highest players on the pitch. The number 10 dropped into pockets of space between our midfield and defence and even deeper. Dion Charles, who missed 2 absolute sitters, thankfully, from our point of view at the time, but his feet were really good in tight areas. He was able to drift into different spaces and pick up the ball and link play really well. And the opener did come midway through the first period, and it's a really, really good goal. It's Jordan Williams, Marlon Fossey, both combined down the right-hand side. And it leads to the latter cutting the ball back to the edge of the box where Aaron Morley runs onto it first time. And there's probably not too much danger. He's a good 20 yards plus out from goal. And he's hitting it with the wrong foot, essentially. But he whips a beautiful effort over the top of Aaron Chapman and into the far corner. It hits the side netting. It's a brilliant finish. And sometimes, like I say, you just have to hold your hands up and say, teams are better than us. They've scored a good goal. There's not much more we can do. 9 times out of 10, it probably ends up in the Rainham end and we set up and we go again, don't we? But it's a brilliant finish from Aaron Morley. You can't take that away from him. And Bolton probably deservedly led. Like I say, we weren't awful, but Bolton were just much better than us. And I was quite happy with being 1 behind at the break. It meant we were still in the game. We were still competitive. And I'd imagine the team talk would have been if you can get to the final 15, 20 minutes at just 1 behind, we can then take a few more risks and try and pinch a goal on the break. Second half, I thought we come out and I thought the intensity was really good. It was Ben Thompson doing the driving and trying to push us forward, getting in their faces a bit more. I remember one run early on in that second period where he got tripped when he was threatening to get away from his man. They won a free kick and then a couple of minutes later got ball in a dangerous area out on our left. A couple of drops of the shoulder, cross-come shot that their keeper, James Trafford, had to tip over the bar for a corner. And again, we had a couple of corners, we had a couple of throw-ins, got into decent areas, but didn't really test Trafford, unfortunately. That was probably our biggest problem. Dan Phillips, who had been decent for the first 55 minutes, showed good feet on the edge of the box, dragged the left-footed effort wide, and then unfortunately took centre stage for all the wrong reasons. The first caution, I think, is a little bit harsh. Is it Alafoy and their number 10? I mean, he's clipped on the touchline in front of the dugouts. He ends up 15 yards on the pitch, rolling about. Yellow card comes out for Dan Phillips and he's then walking a tightrope. And miraculously, Alafoy is up and absolutely fine. But I suppose if it's us doing it, we're not complaining too much. That's the other way to look at it. But for me, I thought the first one might have been a bit harsh. But then the second one is just stupidity of the highest order, unfortunately. And it's a kid who's not learning from his mistakes. Ball gets played out of the Bolton box from a set piece that we've had. Dan Phillips is the last man back. Instead of just heading it out into the Medway stand for a throw-in so we can reset and get back into our shape, decides to have a touch, doesn't get it right, and then has to bring his man down. There's a bundle on the floor. They both trip over. I said at the time to Boz, I thought it was harsh again. I thought that both people were just trying to get up. But I've seen the replay. Dan Phillips, he just essentially grabs the bloke round both of his knees. It's a stonewall yellow card, and with it, a second card equals a red. you can see Neil Harris's reaction in the background on the highlights. Tells Dan Phillips to go straight down the tunnel and into the changing room. Doesn't want him on the bench. Has come out after the game as well and said that he'll be hit with a maximum fine. So probably a longer ban as well, unfortunately, for Dan Phillips, and he needs to learn his lessons quickly, because what he's doing at the moment is he's costing himself and he's costing us collectively through multiple suspensions. 3 reds in 22 appearances is just not good enough, unfortunately. And what was already a hard task was made that much harder. The second goal come shortly after, but we'd actually had a good spell for 5 minutes and we threatened to break. I think they got high up the pitch and we pinched it and we turned it over, and Ben Reeves was driving through the middle of the park. He gets into the centre circle. We've got Stuart O'Keefe busting a gut on the left-hand side for Dane Oliver as well. I think Ben Thompson's peeled off to the right-hand side. He's just got to pick a pass. We had an overload. I think we had a man extra. Then decides to turn back for some reason, Reeves, in the centre circle as it pinched off him, and suddenly we've got half the team out of the game, the wrong side of the ball. They break. Ball falls right-hand side of the box. There's a drive finish. Aaron Chapman does well to get a big hand on it, and it falls to Declan John, who smashes it into an unguarded net for 2-0. And that was pretty much game over after about 60, 65 minutes, unfortunately. It's frustrating, really frustrating. Neil Harris has said at 1-0 before the red card, we were well in the game. We were starting to try and impose ourselves again, but it becomes that much harder because of wrong decision making again, which has cost us all season long. And again, it comes back to this is why we're in this position, unfortunately. Third goal, we're dropping deeper. We're probably on our last legs. We've been chasing shadows for the last 20 minutes. And it's the lad Fossey who's involved again, isn't he? Little ball back to the edge of the box. And John Daddy Bavardson, good touch out of his feet onto his right foot, and he goes with the wrong foot. It's the outside of the right foot, whips a finish into the corner past Aaron Chapman, who had no chance with any of the goals, and game, set and match. If there was any tiny lingering doubts that we were going to get back into it, they were evaporated there and then. Like I've said, hard with 11, impossible with 10, unfortunately. And Bolton were just that much better than us on the day, fully deserving of their 3 points. And like I said, probably could have been 5 or 6 if it wasn't for Aaron Chapman and some poor finishing from Dion Charles. In terms of looking at the opposition, there was plenty of quality on display. I thought the two in the middle of the park were really good, Jordan Williams and Aaron Morley. Aaron Morley, obviously, with that brilliant first goal that set Bolton on their way to a massive 3 points in what looks like could be a potentially late charge towards the playoffs. I mean, it's a big ask for them, we know that, but he was very good, as was Williams. Dion Charles, like I said, he had a funny afternoon. Missed 2 sitters, link play really good. Great in tight spaces, collided with a camera and lost. But ultimately picked up 3 points, so I doubt he's that bothered. But for me, man of the match was the kid at right wing back. One of the best wing back displays I've seen from an opposition player, certainly this season and probably beyond that. And that was Marlon Fossey. Everything that Bolton done really well, he was at the heart of. Defensively, probably wasn't overly tested. Mustafa Carriol drove at him, I think, in the first 5 minutes, then disappeared. Seems he's picked up another injury, which is not ideal. But everything that Fossey had to deal with, he done it absolutely superbly. And attacking-wise, he was a threat all afternoon. Was willing to drive on the outside with pace and power. He's equally comfortably coming inside on his left foot. I think he had a shot that was saved by Aaron Chapman first period. All right, it was a comfortable stop, but he was getting into good areas. Fossey, as I've already mentioned, there was times where him and the other wing-back on the other side, Declan John, were the highest players for Bolton, which made it difficult to defend against. You didn't know who to pick up. You didn't know whether to get tight. You didn't know whether to drop off. 90 minutes played, 84% passing, 5 key passes, 2 assists, won 64% of all of his duels. Just a phenomenal performance from the young man who's on loan from Fulham. So for me, Bolton's best was Marlon Fossey. In terms of the Gills ratings, like I've said, and I might get shot down, I didn't think we were awful. Again, reiterate the point that I made earlier on in the vlog. You just have to sometimes hold your hands up and say that this team are better than us on the day. They've got better options. Carl Dempsey didn't even travel. Our former captain, who's a very good player at this level, he was ill. Who did they bring in? Alafoyen to play in the 10. Like we've already mentioned, they got Williams and Morley in the middle of the park. Dion Charles and Budvarsson up top. You know, 6 in 13 before the weekend. Charles Budvarsson was playing in the Championship last season. 2 wing-backs as good as any as a pairing in the division at the moment, based on what I saw. Defensively, they're solid. They've got a good keeper in James Trafford. Money buys you better players, and they've got more money than us. And I don't want to sit here and sound like Steve Evans and talk about budgets, but Bolton were just much better than us on the day, and I don't think it was through a lack of effort on our part. we just couldn't get near them. They were so fluid in their system. They're a long way ahead of us in terms of where Ian Evatt wants them to be and where they currently are. You look at Neil Harris, he's had 8 games. Ian Evatt's had a couple of years. That's the difference. In terms of the ratings, though, after going off on a bit of a tangent, Aaron Chapman, 7 out of 10, solid, made a lot of good saves. Back 3, Jack Tucker and Connor Masterson, I gave 6. They had a tough afternoon as the outside centre-backs. I thought the best of the 3 was Max Emar, 6.5 we gave him. Gave Ryan Jackson a 6.5 and Robbie McKenzie a 6. That was the 2 wing-backs. Thought Jacko was really good first period, was getting on, trying to push John back. Defensively was sound as well. Second half, when the game got stretched, they both struggled a little bit more, didn't they? McKenzie had a torrid afternoon at times against Marlon Fossey, but you know that's no disrespect to McKenzie. He just came up against a player who was at the top of his game for the entirety of the 90 minutes. Middle of the park, Stuart O'Keefe, lots of effort, but not his best game. 6. Dan Phillips was having a decent afternoon until the red mist took over again. 5.5. Red card ultimately not cost us the game, but extinguishes any chance of us getting back into it. Mustafa Carriel, 5, was non-existent for 45 minutes before disappearing down the tunnel at half-time and not coming back out. Ben Thompson, probably the best of the outfield players, 6.5. Kept driving us on second period, kept trying to make things happen. For Dane Oliver, no service again. Battled and battled and battled. He had a tough afternoon against Ricardo Santos, who's an absolute man mountain. There was one incident first half where Verdane Oliver's chasing down another lost cause and Santos just steps across him, and it was equivalent to Verdane Oliver hitting his back. It was equivalent to a fly hitting a patio window, and he just slid off of him and hit the deck. And you know what? How much Verdane Oliver brings to us as a team. He makes us a better football side when he's in it. We gave him a 6. Substitutes, Ben Reeves, poor afternoon, 5. At fault for the second goal, which ultimately cost us the game. Charlie Kelman came on right near the end, not applicable. So yeah, that's the Gills ratings for this week. Average. In terms of man of the match for Neil Harris's men, it was easy enough to pick this week. It was Aaron Chapman. If it wasn't for him, we'd have probably lost by 4, 5 or 6. He's made some really good saves. A couple of comfortable ones first half. One he had to tip over the bar for a corner. He's made some really big stops in the second half. To keep the score down, and we know that our goal difference is poor enough as it is at the moment. So Aaron Chapman doing his bit. I thought his distribution was good again. His kicking in tricky conditions has been spot on since he's come back into the side from last week a couple of times at Lincoln City. He's loud, he commands his box, he tells his centre halves to get up, to get an edge of the box, to be high, not to drop too deep. It's the loudest I've heard a keeper for a while in a Gillingham shirt. Jamie Cumming, very good, but not loud like that. Dolberg, we didn't see enough of it. I think probably the last time I heard a keeper this loud was Thomas Holy. He had a big bellowing voice on him, didn't he? A big check stopper. But yeah, Aaron Chapman, really, really good again. Swept up well behind his 3 centre-backs. 90 minutes played. 6 saves, 4 from inside the box. 2 of them are absolutely top class as well. 2 punches clear, 2 clearances. So a good afternoon, and probably the one Gillingham player that really come out with it any real credit. So our man of the match was Aaron Chapman. Right, that is nearly it for this week's Monday review. We are now down to the final 10 games of the campaign. Biggest thing to come out Saturday afternoon. Other results went our way, thankfully, so we didn't lose any ground. Wimbledon got beat, Fleetwood got beat, Morecambe got beat, Shrewsbury only drew. The big winners were probably Lincoln City. Great win over Sheffield Wednesday to take them 8 points clear of the drop zone after a pretty abject display against us last week. But we're still in there, we're still fighting, we're still kicking and screaming. It's a massive one next Saturday, isn't it? Away to Doncaster. Lose that and we're probably done. Win it and we could be down to goal difference away from safety. Right, that is enough from me. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening as always. I'll be back on Thursday for a match preview ahead of the Doncaster game. Might be going to the Keep Moat next weekend. Not 100% sure yet, but if I am, obviously I'll do a match day live. Hope your week's not too stressful. And until next time, up the Gills.